back, everybody. I want to introduce Dr. Kathleen Myers, who is joining me today. It's always a good day to spend some time with Dr. Myers. I think to start off, just tell us a little bit about where you're from and where you grew up and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. So Russellville is actually home for me, and I'm very fortunate in that I went to school at Pottsville, but Russellville's home. Russellville's where I grew up, and the military took me around the world. But I'm back. I've always known Arkansas is home and Arkansas Tech is home, so I'm back, and Russellville's where my base is.
So Pottsville, huh?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know if I knew that. So where did you go to get your undergrad degree at?
So undergraduate was here at Arkansas Tech, and I am a first generation. I remember being very nervous, but my parents made it clear that college was not a choice. It was, you're going. And I remember when I stepped onto ATU's campus, and the registrar's office was located in Doc Bryan. And I remember looking up thinking they had spelled registrar wrong. And looking back on that, that was such a humbling moment, because I thought it should be register, because I'm here to register for classes. And that was a big aha moment of not really knowing how to navigate college and what to do and what offices to go to. And so I came, and they were so great. They worked with me. Doc Bryan was once laid out where you just went to each office after the next office to get started on your process, and so that's what I did. And I started. I knew I wanted to be a teacher since a very young age, and so I entered the early childhood education program.
You know, as you were talking, because I'm also a first generation student, and I was thinking about, I went to Oklahoma State, and I went with a buddy to register, and the campus itself was just inundating. I felt so overwhelmed just stepping on campus, and had it not been for my buddy, I think I'd have just been I felt like I was drowning a little bit, right? But my buddy was there, and of course, you know, he came from a family of different folks that had gone to college, so he'd been there and all that. So I think it's important that some of the folks out there realize that we've had some of those experiences as well, and I think that at a school like Tech, it's especially, a school of access and opportunity and all those things. So I think it's cool that folks like yourself are coming back, and first generation student, and you can kind of help the next first generation student wave or whatnot. So you chose education.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, so you get your degree, can you kind of walk me through your professional path a little bit?
Yeah, so once I received my undergraduate degree in early childhood education, I went on to teach public school for the Russellville School District. And during that time, I had a newborn child during my internship, and I was really struggling being away from her. She was at a daycare just down the street from the school I was teaching at, and I couldn't stand it. And so I said, you know what, I want to open my own school. And so that's what I did. I opened up my own school. I wrote curriculum for the state, and I decided this is what I'm going to do. And so I opened up an academy for kids, and we worked with anywhere from age 3 all the way up to elementary school age children, K-6, for after school programs. And then while I was doing that, my mentor here on campus, Dr. Paxton, called me and said, I know you want to teach. Do you want to come teach at Tech? And I said, that's my dream. Let's do it. And that's how I went from public school to teaching here at ATU.
And so you get to come back to where it all started a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I should backtrack a little.
Oh, good. Yeah, go ahead.
While teaching in public school, I decided to pursue a master's in education. And I was talking to Dr. Paxton, and I said, what route should I go here? And he said, well, your first teaching job was working with students with exceptionalities. Are you passionate about it? I said, I absolutely am. He said, that's how you should go. And so I pursued a master's in special education while I was teaching public school.
Okay. Which is actually, you said backtrack, but it's also a good segue, because now that's special education is your expertise area, and that's where you teach in that program. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Okay. So once I decided to come on at ATU, I started out as an adjunct, and I was in a spot of, okay, am I going to be able to teach at this level? Am I going to enjoy it? And I started, and I loved it. I knew that this is where I was supposed to be. I knew that this is what I should be doing. And so my associate dean at the time came to me and said, we really want you to stay here at Tech. How do you feel about getting a doctorate? And at this point, I have 2 young children, one who is starting kindergarten, and I think, oh my goodness, can I juggle all of this? Can I juggle teaching courses? Can I juggle having 2 young children? Can I juggle starting a doctorate? And so I sat down with my family and I said, what do you think? And they said, we have your back. And I cannot tell you all how many nights I have spent on this campus writing in my office just to finish my doctorate. And I started my doctorate before COVID. And so COVID really paused my doctorate because my research was me going into public schools. Well, public schools were closed to outsiders.
Right.
And so all of my research that I had been doing and all the data I'd been planning just went to a back burner. And so I had to change everything. And it was a very challenging process, but I finished. And my doctorate is in curriculum and instruction and special education.
Awesome.
And so I started full-time and accepted a position as assistant professor. And then my mentor that I mentioned earlier, Dr. Paxton, he was always on me. Hey, are you ready to take over the program? No, I'm not. You're wonderful. No one can outdo you. Definitely one of the smartest, funniest people I've ever known. We worked together for over 20 years, presenting at conferences, and he was just such a wonderful professor in my undergrad and my grad. And I will never be able to outdo him, ever. I hope I'm doing him justice in the program. But finally, I guess 3 years ago, he came to me and he said, listen, now's the time. And I said, okay, I will do it. And I have had to have a lot of help, especially from Micah and others in the graduate college, learning the ropes, figuring out, what needs to be done. And unfortunately, Dr. Paxton has since passed away, but he always believed in me. And when you have a professor that believes in you wholeheartedly, the opportunities are endless. And I think without his encouragement, I would not have ever taken this role of directing a special education program.
I think we cannot overstate the importance of those mentors. So when I applied for this job, maybe I guess, but you write through your biography sketch or whatever, right? And there's a line in mine that talks about a rough-hewn kid from East Texas, and that's really where I saw myself, and because I had a couple of mentors, professors that saw something more than that. They encouraged me and pushed me, and similarly, my parents had a similar views, like college is not an option, right? They wanted something better for me than they had. And it really was those mentors and those people, whether it's a grandpa, a professor, that finds something in you that you don't necessarily know that's in yourself, right?
Yes, exactly.
And, sometimes it's the carrot, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's whip kicking the britches or whatnot. And I needed both along the way. But it's a special thing when you find somebody that believes in you and can keep pushing and mentoring you. So that's really awesome.
Yeah, I cannot sing Dr. Paxton's praises enough. And my family they played such a special role in getting to where I am today. I do not know that I would be here without my family. And so I think having a support system in place, especially when you embark on a graduate program or a terminal degree, you need a support system and you need professors who believe in you and are there to encourage you.
Absolutely agree. And I think Dr. Paxton will be super proud of where you're at, right? And I think that's another good segue, actually. So tell us about the special education program. Like, I know you've been working with some curricular adjustments and looking at bringing in some different, like a certificate or whatnot. So can you kind of just share with us about the different options you have and what they look like?
So one of the things that I loved about our graduate program is that it was completely online. And as a teacher, the schedule worked with mine because I was able to work on assignments when I was able to work on assignments and not be forced into a classroom when I should be in my own classroom. And that really drew me to the program here at Arkansas Tech. And so it was important for me to keep that in place And to keep in mind that most of my students are full-time educators and they need to have a flexible schedule to work on this degree. So the degree is completely online. It is asynchronous classes, and so you're able to work at your pace that works for you between the deadlines and the dates set forth. And so with that, it's a 30-hour program now. It was 36, but now it is 30 hours. And it includes a practicum, and the practicum is at the site that you work at if you're employed at a school. If you're not employed at a school, we can still find a placement for you. I have 2 adjuncts that work in the program that teach courses with me, and I have taught with both of them. One is a special education expertise for our Russell School District, and the other one works with special education in Oklahoma. And she will soon be moving back to Arkansas, and they both received degrees here from Arkansas Tech, so they're alumni as well. And I think it's important that we have professors that know the program, have been through the program, and know what it's like as a teacher to do this program. I think we're better professors because of that. And so with the coursework, it's really built with the teacher schedule in mind.
So if somebody's enrolling in a program, what kind of courses are they taking, and what are they, because I know enough to be like interested, but tell me a little bit about the courses and what the students are engaging in and learning in these courses.
So we start with educational research, and we learn how to do research, we learn how to pull data, we learn how to compare, we learn about bibliographies. We also start with the dyslexia course, which I really like. That is new to me. The dyslexia course was not here when I was here, and as you know, Arkansas has a big push for dyslexia right now. And so the dyslexia course is going to be built into the program regardless. If you choose the dyslexia certificate, you're taking dyslexia courses. If you choose the master's degree, you're still taking that dyslexia course, just so you have some basic foundational knowledge about it. And I appreciate that. Also, we have instructional courses that teach you how to develop curriculum that is appropriate for different ages, but also developmentally appropriate. So we are real big about developmentally appropriate practices. And we talk about 504s, IEPs, how do we write those? How do we talk with families? How do we collaborate with families? How do we make that process easier? We also talk about classroom management. What do we do if we have violent behaviors? What do we do with our substitute teacher? How do we make sure that their day is going to be good with that change? Because we talk about transitions and how that can be hard with special education. And so we have a big focus on, basically, you have the foundation from your undergraduate. Now we're going to dive deeper. And one of the classes that I really enjoy is our data and assessment class. And it teaches you, it gives you a project that is of interest to you, and you come up with your topic, and you go out and you do the research and you pull the data and you create your project based on that. So I really enjoy the real life, applying it to the classroom. Instead of just talking about it or writing about it, you're actually out practicing it.
Doing it, yeah. So when they get done with one of these tracks or this degree program, what are they going out and doing after that?
So typically, most of my students are currently employed as special education teachers, and they're wanting a deeper understanding of what to do, the different exceptionalities that are, I guess, present. And today, for example, I was speaking with a student who said, hey, they're moving me, I'm going to be in 3rd grade. And I know in the summer when I take this course, because we have 2 courses, one is focused on K-6, and then one is focused on 7-12.
Okay.
And so we talk about applying those principles, those strategies to the different age groups. And so she was wanting to take the K-6 course just to kind of help her prepare for the younger. And
it makes sense, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. And so really it's students that are already in a special education position or students who are wanting to go into special education. And by students, I mean students in our program.
Right.
If you're not a student in our program, it's for educators.
Right.
And so that's our primary audience is educators.
And so I guess to kind of round it out is, if there's somebody who's either maybe they're transitioning from one position to another into special education, or they're changing grades from, you know, going into third grade, or maybe it's just somebody that's got a degree and I'm thinking about, you know, this is an opportunity. So coming in from different angles, I guess, and you're considering the special education program here at Tech, what kind of questions would you ask or advice would you give students as they're kind of navigating this process, exploring their options?
And so that is a loaded question.
Oh, that's why I asked it, right?
But it's really, my biggest thing is you have to be passionate about it. You know, I joke with my undergraduate students all the time. They just assume that I'm going to shove college down my kid's throat, and that's not the case. I'm actually a huge advocate for trade schools and students going and doing what they're passionate about. And college isn't for everyone, but for those that it is for them, if you're passionate about it, it's going to be such an easier process. And if your heart is in the game, you're on the right path. And if you're just kind of not sure, I want to have a conversation with you. I want to figure out what your goals are, what you're trying to accomplish, to figure out if this program is good for you or if there's another program on campus that would be a better fit. But for special education, it's really, you have to be passionate about it. You have to be in it. It can't just be another thing to add to your certificates. It has to be something you're in it.
Right. I think that, you know, when we talk about passion, and there's some other flowery words we use, but I think that what we're getting down to is something I heard: when the going gets tough, the tough gets going, right? And there's always going to be trials, tribulations, speed bumps, potholes, whatever you want to call them. And it's that internal thing that I want this for different reasons, right? But I have this goal that I'm not going to let things get in my way of going after that. And for this, and I'm just kind of my language, I'm saying that this is so important to me that I give back to this group of students, and we're talking about their students, right, the youngins, that I want to make a difference in their lives, and I want to do so, and I've got that drive, right? And I think that's very important. But, you know, I want to undersell the other part of it is, you know, especially here at Tech, what I see is yourself and others in education that you talked about, you know, your mentor and whatnot, is we care about the students so that they go out and make a difference, you know, and I think that's vitally important. And finding that passion, whether it is special ed or whether it's something else, is we want what's best for you. And I think that's that kind of goes back to the Tech being a university of opportunity, access, and all of that.
Absolutely. You know, and last night I had a student call me. She graduated 4 years ago. And she said, I'm wanting to apply to a new school district. I need your advice on this. And I love those phone calls. I love those phone calls when they call and they say, I need help.
Right.
Because I am more than happy to help. I'm more than happy to have those conversations. I'm more than happy to get you where you need to go. And if I don't know the answer, I will find the answer. And that happens a little bit too much for my comfort. I definitely need to up my game. But yeah, it's great having our alumni come back and say, okay, I got the resource certificate, but I think I'm ready for the master's instead. Okay, let's go. Let's get you registered. You know, and what I tell my students, because we do have a K-12 option, a certificate, and what I tell my students is that K-12 certificate is 21 hours. If you decide this is what you want to do, you loved it, go ahead and take 3 more classes and get that master's degree.
Right.
You know, it's 3 classes to get it.
Right.
So.
And then it's another credential you can hang on your wall and you get to keep forever.
Yeah.
And as I've told my students, no one can ever take that from you.
Nope, that is yours.
Yeah, it's yours forever and ever, amen. Well, Dr. Myers, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate it, and appreciate the opportunity to learn a little bit more. And you clearly see your passion as well, and I appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.